You voted for Donald Trump. Do you want him to be impeached? Because this is a man with the power, the means, and the motivation to attempt it. You have to ask yourself, in the real world, do you want Donald Trump to be impeached? He's an imperfect man. I do not want him to be impeached. Elon Musk does. Here's why we're here today. Or like I said, there may be a whistleblower next week. I don't know. It's not my whistle to blow. But there's a lot behind this. So we're just going to present really the news that has taken place over the last couple of days. And I know you have some questions about the big, beautiful bill. First, well, no, you have those questions. But first, I think what is most important, especially since you have the world's wealthiest man sort of alluding to the fact that your president may be a pedophile.
Right.
Which, of course, is, I would be willing to bet my life is untrue. Let's get to Elon Musk and how this has all been handled and who is lining up on which sides of this issue and maybe why. So President Trump, we covered this live on Rumble Premium, finally responded yesterday to Elon Musk before a lot of the other news broke.
And, Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. And, they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles. And they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. That's been, I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning. Mr. Secretary, that hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA. And I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And I say, look, we won. We get certain privileges. And one of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General Kane is going to be picking somebody with our, we'll be checking him out, seeing, but he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And, I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval Desk. And even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't."
Who gave
think
it
so,
to him?
Which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship.
So what proceeded after that would be seen as, I would say contextually now, a meltdown of epic proportions. And what I mean by that is, since the meltdown, what you experienced yesterday with Elon Musk, he's then tried to play it off as though it's a joke. You don't get to unring the bell of the implication that someone is a child sex offender, in my opinion. And so, in my opinion, the talking heads who go, "Hey, cut it out, you two," that's the equivalent to a teacher saying that to you and a bully who's been beating your ass, right? The zero tolerance policy. "Hey, cut it." You're like, "Well, hold on a second. I'm defending myself." There isn't an equivocation, even if you, and I would argue, incorrectly think that the 1.7 trillion in cuts in this big bill are not enough. Does that excuse implying that someone is a pedophile?
Yeah.
If it's not true, which I don't believe it is. So Elon Musk is now trying to walk it back, and I'll get to the quotes from him regarding Epstein and all this, saying it's a joke, trying to play it off. I shouldn't say saying, playing it off as though this was all meant in good fun. Doesn't seem like President Trump, and I think because there's more to this than what you've seen, it doesn't seem like President Trump is very interested in letting bygones be bygones on this one.
Joining us now, someone who just got off the phone with the president. CNN chief political correspondent Dana Bash joins us now by phone. Dana, what did he tell you?
Good morning, John. Well, he said that he's, quote, well, here's exactly what he said, quote, "I'm not even thinking about Elon. He's got a problem. The poor guy's got a problem." He said he won't be speaking to him for a while, but he said he wishes Elon Musk well.
Yeah. And I understand that. And look, it is important. Part of our job with having a platform is, to be honest with you, to be authentic, right? Our job is to entertain you and hopefully inform you. We make all of our references available. We don't always do our job fantastically, and that's why we have an admonish button. In this case, don't you think it's important to acknowledge that there are certain lines, right? Regardless of fiscal policy, aren't there certain lines that you don't cross with someone who you claim as a friend? I'm asking you this: would you still be friends? Would you want to be friends with someone who implied that you were a child rapist? Is that one that's just joshing you? How about if they told the whole world?
Especially somebody who's been in that position that might, people think, knows something we don't.
Right. And it's all opaque and it's all veiled. Genuine question. Comment below. And is that indicative of someone's character? Part of our job is to make sure that wolves don't get through the gates. That's why I've been sounding the alarm for a very long time. I've only done so with what should be publicly available information because it wouldn't be right for me to reveal private information. That exists too. So we have the receipts for what you can and should know, and I'll admit, you kind of have to take my word for it. We'll get into that more next week. And I get that it's painful because a lot of people wanted to see this heal. People wanted to see this relationship continue. We thought that this, or I should say a lot of people, were implying that this was going to be the future of MAGA, of the conservative movement. And I also understand why Elon would be upset at this point. He overplayed his hand. He crossed some lines. And 60 Minutes, by the way, caught up with Elon Musk early this morning, where you can see how upset he is in this exclusive interview.
Donald Trump and Mike Johnson said that you're just flat out wrong about the big, beautiful bill. And I wonder what you think about that.
Yeah. You know, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough.
They asked you to save the government some money, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them passing this reconciliation bill and not taking your advice.
It's difficult.
Did you think your ex-post would produce a positive outcome?
So they're hoping they would.
So what can be done to fix your relationship now?
You know, I wish they would come and visit.
Do you wish you could take back all the things you said yesterday?
Yes.
I appreciate the sincerity there.
I do too.
Yeah. It's like he's really been touched.
Yeah. But here's what he would have to take back. For those of you who haven't been following, I would argue this is crossing the Rubicon.
Yeah.
When he posted, "Time to drop the really big bomb that real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason why they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." He went on to say, "Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out." Okay. It's also a smart play. It's a smart play because you have to understand that Elon Musk and Doge have had access to government files, confidential information that no one else really would, right? Which is also why it's a worry, considering that Tesla is the only company that's been permitted to set up shop in China the way that it has. He's got information here on this government that no one else has, and I'm sure China would like to have that information. It comes down to how loyal do you believe Elon Musk is? How earnest do you believe he is? Do you believe that he did this for the good of the country, supporting Donald Trump only after the assassination attempt, after trying to push Ron DeSantis? Or do you believe that, like he tweeted out, posted, "Hey, you wouldn't have won without me. It's because he wants someone to owe him a favor," and then look at his business practices? Here's why these allegations make no sense, but I also understand some people will believe them if for a national security reason that Elon Musk would know the Epstein files can't be released. And you know that I absolutely believe they must be released.
Right.
So, couple of points. That would mean that Elon let his son around someone he believed was a pedophile. Okay? That's not good.
Irresponsible, to say the least.
Yeah. That would mean that the people who have this information on Donald Trump and Epstein, who have a vested interest, who have been in charge of, at least for the last 4 years, intelligence agencies, didn't release it at any time during the last two presidential cycles. I find it hard to imagine in a world, or any kind of a world, where Democrats would have this information and not use it.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most damning pieces of this is that you know that with everything they were trying to do to keep him out of office, especially this last cycle, it would have come out.
Right.
I mean, they trumped up fraud charges in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather
Exactly.
than just show the real files.
Yes.
I'm not buying it.
Well, And here's the thing, Elon Musk would have joined this administration knowing all of this. So think about that. If he knew all of this and he had all of this and he was still pushing for his request, right, to be enacted, this is by definition blackmail or extortion. That, to me, is a problem. Also, I will tell you this. I guarantee you Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. I guarantee you, because he's the person who reported Epstein. And by the way, it was marked that he was the only one who complied with authorities on Epstein. Sure, you can point to Mar-a-Lago and Epstein being there. Have you guys ever been there? You know that thousands of people go. It's basically an event center. When Donald Trump realized who Epstein was, he flagged it and he helped the authorities. And he's the only one that we know of who did that. Here's more proof. President Trump calling out Epstein very specifically in no uncertain terms in 2015.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool.
That's 2015.
Wow.
For reference, nobody nationally was talking about Prince Andrew or the island at all. Just to be clear, like, it's easy for you to misremember and go, oh yeah, no, not in 2015.
When was the island made public?
It was
much later.
It was much later. The Epstein.
Sorry.
Trying to think when he was finally arrested. Would have been 2020?
Around 2020,
Around
2021.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere there. He had issues with Florida, but it wasn't a national issue.
Gotcha.
And before people say, no, President Trump only connected to one Epstein plane that went to Florida. It wasn't the Lolita Express plane. He never spent any time on the island. As far as, hey, maybe that's in the file. But it would be weird considering that Bradley Edwards, who was an attorney for the Epstein victims, confirmed in 2009, like I told you, President Trump was the only notable figure to immediately and fully comply with subpoenas on Epstein.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
And that was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
I want to be clear. As a matter of fact, it could be argued that if not for Donald Trump, Epstein would never have been caught at all.
No.
Think about that. And so the left plays this game. Look, connection to Epstein. Reported him. He may never, I can't definitively say this, but there's a strong chance that Epstein may never have been caught, or nothing would have stuck at all if not for Donald Trump. Guarantee you he's in the files. For that reason, is there another one? I doubt it.
I think it's the implication, too. It's not just the fact that we know that he would be in those files. It's implying that Donald Trump is not only in those files, but whatever is in it is so damning that he will not let it get out.
Right.
And this is one of those things. You don't come back from a comment like that.
No,
you may walk off into the sunset and do your own thing, but you certainly never get to come back into the fold ever again after a comment like that. I don't care how sorry, how much ketamine, how much Jolt Cola you had in your system at the time, you don't come back from that.
Yeah. I don't know if they still make Jolt.
I don't think they do, but I was trying to go for a...
And I will say, by the way, don't do the thing where you go, well, if Donald Trump, then that must mean there's something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. No. If you know that you were not a pedophile sex offender and someone told the world that you were, would you ever allow them back into the fold? People often do this, right? Like Trevor Bauer, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's the opposite of that. That's what people are hoping you do. That's what leftists do. #MeToo. That's what leftists do. 30 times a felon, right, with Donald Trump. That's what they do. They hope that the totality of it tricks you into not doing your research. But the real important question here, this is all publicly available information. That's what we're talking about. Has Elon, at least these last 48 hours, I would argue he is not in many capacities, though I support the work Doge has done. I'd support it if anyone had done it. Last couple of days, has he been acting in the best interests of America, where we're at a pretty fragile time when you look at what's happening with Russia and you understand what China wants to do. It's not a great time to fracture the winning team right now, which is you. I would make the case that he's thrown America pretty clearly under the bus. I don't know if you saw this, but in a move that I guarantee you China loved, he went after Trump's tariffs, saying that Trump's tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. Even the leftist CBO said it would reduce the deficit by, I believe it was
2.8 trillion, I believe.
$2.8 trillion. We covered that yesterday. And they really, really don't want to tell you that. So Elon's against the tariffs, which, by the way, would that affect big plant in
I don't know.
China?
Maybe.
Big Tesla plant?
Whoops.
Batteries? Would that affect the only American company that's allowed to set up shop in China because you can't do business there unless you're...
Not like a joint venture thing?
Yeah, with the Communist Chinese Party. I don't know. That's not proof that he's acting in those selfish interests, but it kind of is.
It's a concern we've had for a long time.
Matter of fact, we actually have a foreign correspondent in Hong Kong who joins us now with an exclusive report.
Donald Trump don't trust Elon. Elon is asshole.
He's 2 for 2.
He's everywhere.
He's 2 for 2. But hey, people were saying Donald Trump's rhino in this bill, right? And Elon Musk is for America. Okay, so you guys want higher taxes? That's now a conservative principle? Because he retweeted a post yesterday calling for the tax cuts to be removed from the bill. That, by the way, affects everybody. It's extending tax cuts that you enjoy. So is that more conservative than finding a way to continue the tax cuts while reducing spending and the deficit? And then he also agreed with Ian Miles Chong yesterday that President Trump should be impeached. Let me ask you, if you don't like the bill, you voted for Donald Trump. Do you want him to be impeached? Because this is a man with the power, the means, and the motivation to attempt it. You have to ask yourself, in the real world, do you want Donald Trump to be impeached? He's an imperfect man. I do not want him to be impeached. Elon Musk does. Where do you line up? Does that make it clear?
But by the way, this isn't like the whim of the public. You can't just be like, yeah, it's time to impeach. You actually have to have some grounds for impeachment.
Yeah, I know. But I'm asking people if that's actually what they want.
I don't think that's what they want.
If you're supporting Elon, that's what you're supporting right now.
Yeah. And
impeaching Donald Trump.
He hasn't walked it back.
No.
How about no?
Yeah, you got the will of the people, not just the will of some guy in Malaysia.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Elon, people will say Donald Trump has this history, and you'll see the left right now, right? I've seen a bunch of articles. Watch conservatives have whiplash going from hero worship to vilification. Not me. My neck feels fine. And lost a lot of potential business ventures in speaking about this for a long period of time behind the scenes. And that's why a lot of people are afraid to speak out. Won't tell you because that's not my place to say, but a lot of people are out there. Even some people who would tell you the opposite. Elon has a history, if you think Donald Trump does, of sort of having these divorces where he loves you until he dislikes you. Well, it's pretty clear as to why that is. And I think he can be a little bit erratic, but disloyalty. If he views an action as stabbing him in the back. Elon Musk has the same history of tantrums and throwing people under the bus and destroying relationships, but it isn't tied to disloyalty. It's tied to not getting his way. I think there's an important difference. Assuming that they both do it to the same degree, which I disagree with, but let's assume that. Doing so because you were betrayed by a friend is different from betraying a friend because they didn't do what you told them. Let's go to H-1Bs. Elon threw a fit when he was challenged over his view of H-1Bs, where he believes that they should be limitless because there aren't enough good Americans to do the skilled labor here. And when many of you said, hey, hold on a second, that's not what we voted for, he posted, the reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Take a big step back and yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. That's not a disagreement. This is why I gave $200+ million. As many Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis as I can possibly allow in to replace you, and you if you don't think that's putting America first. Do you guys see the difference? He's also done some stories that you may not. Remember the cave diver? There was a film about this where there were these kids who were stuck in a mountain. It got flooded. I think it was around 2018, and I can't remember the name of the film. But rescuers at this point in time turned down a submarine that Musk offered to rescue these boys in Thailand. They were rescued by these divers. And after his offer was turned down, he lashed out, again, calling one of the divers who saved the lives of these boys a pedophile, a pedo guy. And I remember them saying, like, yeah, that was just it wasn't something that we could use. It was that he just wanted to do this to get some clout. He wanted to inject himself and get some limelight. But we had a plan, we stuck with it, and it worked. There's a fascinating film on it. I can't remember what it's called. You guys can comment and let me know. So we look at this, and it's important. If both sides have valid points, okay, got it. And we can talk about the bill. This is not about the bill. That's why I've repeated this week, $180 billion, for which there are only 30%, right, of receipts, Doge, total proposed cuts versus $1.7 trillion in cuts in this bill. You may say it's not enough, but it's more than Doge. He's not mad about that. He's now made it clear. He's mad about the taxes. He's mad about your taxes not going up. He's mad about the tariffs. He doesn't think China should have to pay them. And he justifies it by saying that Donald Trump is a pedophile. The wolf was chased out. We don't need to continue this riff, to be clear. If Elon stays out, don't let him back in. I want to make it really clear. I did not elect Elon Musk. Donald Trump did fine. He will do fine without him. This is another point, too, because a lot of people don't realize. There are people out there, like, for example, Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble, who, by the way, was a Canadian and has always been incredibly supportive of Donald Trump. By the way, has also stood up to the governments that Elon acquiesced to. Brazil, China, UK. Rumble said no. That's why it's not available in countries where in some cases X is. And Chris won't tell you that. But he forewent a lot of financial gain to make those decisions. And he was supporting Donald Trump even when people thought he was down and out. Okay? You may not remember this. Elon Musk purchased Twitter, or now it's X. Elon Musk endorsed DeSantis in May 2023, to be clear. And he did after he purchased X, I remember him doing a hangout with DeSantis. So what changed? There was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, where we all knew he was going to win. As close as you can know, right? With a national election, there's always some risk. After that, he stepped in. But before that, he wanted no tariffs on China, and he still wants no tariffs on China. Before that, he didn't care about your taxes going up, and he still doesn't care about your taxes going up. Before that, he didn't really care about putting America first and H-1Bs and as many immigrants who can possibly come in with 16 families stuck in a one-bedroom to take your job at 60% of the payings. And he still doesn't care about you and your jobs. He was never a free speech guy, and he is still not a free speech guy. He said that the man you elected was a pedophile, and he still hasn't walked it back. Don't let that wolf back in the gates. I think the most valuable thing, and we're going to go, if you're not a member right now, this is a scary time for everyone here, just so you know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lawsuit on my desk before I walk out of this studio. Elon Musk can be very litigious. So can his enterprises. Consider supporting. We're able to speak on this, whether you agree or not. Least be honest with you, because of your support. You can join Rumble Premium, $99 a year. You get everything ad-free. It's the best deal going right now in multimedia content. Or let us do our best to earn it going forward. That's all I ask. Well, I think you had a point, Gerald. I've kind of taken the floor here this entire time before we go.
For Elon Musk, I mean, I just that kind of series of events doesn't make any logical sense to me if you're just opposing a bill at all.
Right.
He never made a point like Rand Paul made. Excuse me. He never was very specific about what he wanted, and for too long, people have hero worshipped on both sides. Honestly. There's a lot of people right now on X that are just absolutely in the camp for Elon Musk and saying Musk can do no wrong and just give him time and it's okay. These guys just need to sort it out. I'm sorry. They don't need to sort it out. They just need to go their separate ways. I'm with you. I don't want Elon Musk back in the fold because I never thought he really was. I really appreciated the help that he gave.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I love that X went to his hands instead of Dorsey's hands.
Well, now they're buddies.
Problems. Right.
Now they're buddies.
They're buddies
Him
again.
and Dorsey.
Yeah, I think I know why.
Yeah.
Some of that inside baseball that we've been talking about a little cryptically. But also Donald Trump, calling him out when he's wrong. It's fine, but you do it in a productive way. This was not a productive way. Asking for him to be impeached is not a productive way. Calling him a pedophile is not a productive way. I'm sorry, you just don't get to do this.
I think the most important lesson to here, at least I would say illuminating. Look, do I think that Donald Trump can be bombastic? Do I think that I think he's been wrong on a lot.
Yeah, fine.
But the left was saying, I mean, like we talked about yesterday, Bernie Sanders had a tour about the oligarchs, which got screwed yesterday.
Tickets suck.
They were saying, so now you basically have a president who is bought and sold and will do the bidding of Elon Musk. Elon Musk tweeted out, I put in $200-something million or X'd out, whatever. And Donald Trump won, I think he said 51-49. Donald Trump can't win without me. Donald Trump was going to win without him.
Yeah.
To be clear. But it's important to note that to have a president who has the world's richest man, who has given more to his campaign or PACs than anyone else, who has a vested interest financially in certain facets, who makes requests, and to say no, that's pretty important. That does tell us that, like him or hate him, Donald Trump clearly was not bought by Elon Musk. And that's why when I look at Donald Trump and he makes mistakes, for example, the bump stock issue.
Yeah.
And it's less, guess what? I think he thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
There's no lobbyist who told him to. I believe he was wrong. But you actually, you couldn't state more definitively about any president ever that we have more proof that Donald Trump is unbuyable than anyone else. There might have been someone who was less for sale, but you couldn't prove it to the degree that you can right now. You don't piss off the world's richest man who also has had access to your government in a way that nobody else does who could try and use it against you. You don't do that unless you think it's right. So no one's perfect, and I have plenty of disagreements. But on this one, I've been saying it for close to a decade. I think the earliest there was 2016. And I'll say it again before we go to Rumble Premium and take your chats on what we missed. I don't like Elon Musk. I don't trust Elon Musk, and with good reason. And I would encourage you to take into account the totality of research. And it really comes down to one simple question. Do you want Donald Trump to be impeached? Do you believe that our country is better off if that happens tomorrow? We often throw this sort of hypothetical out there like, hey, if you were king for a day, what would you do on abortion? What would you do on drugs? What would you do on taxes? Hey, ask yourself this, and it should tell you where you line up. If you were king for a day, king of the world, would you make sure that Donald Trump is impeached? Because it's a whole lot less of a hypothetical in this case. When it's the wealthiest man in history ever, and he has The entire media eager to use his words to tear down this administration and make the impeachment of Donald Trump a reality. So, you want Donald Trump impeached? If not, I'd think twice about supporting the wolf who's been at the gates. Keep him out. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.